The term phantom refers to the state of a planet, galaxy, universe, etc., or the part of it which have become descending, that is, unable to evolve out of the time matrix. So, phantom simply defined as being unable to ascend through the multi-dimensional cosmic structure and out of the time matrix. We're going to look at phantom Earth, the phantom matrix and who's behind it, how much of this universal construct is affected by phantom, how much is being affected here on Earth in the condition that it is in by this matricy, this phantom matrix, and those that are behind it. This is going to be interesting. So, in this video, I am utilizing a testimonial, which is a near-death experience, to point out something. And when we get to it, you'll know what it is, obviously. But at any rate, let's go ahead and begin, and let's take a look at Phantom Earth. So during 2012 to 2017, there was a transition. During 2000 to 2017, for those that may know, we had the stellar activation cycle, which was also known as being the ascension cycle, okay, which has passed, as you know. Now, during 2012-2017 transition, the particles of Earth that are unable to fully shift into the faster pulsation rate, those that cannot reach an accretion level of 3.5, we're talking about dimension, will create a phantom Earth that will return to the 3D time cycle, which is a 2.5 accretion level. That's right. We're not truly experiencing 3D here. And the reason for that is, instead of me explaining that here, which will take up too much time, I will refer you to the series that I've done. Well, I have one more video that I need to do for that, but it is for the holographic multiverse, and that dealing with the shadow body. My recommendation is to check that out, okay? And if you have any further questions in relationship to that, go ahead and post your questions in the group, and we'll look to answer that. Okay, so the phantom Earth will no longer remain attached to the morphogenic field of Earth and Tara, because as we know, there's a connection between these planets within this solar system and that of Tara. Okay. I don't know if there's a video in the group, but I know I have it on my YouTube channel about that in respect to Tara. So if you would like to check that out, you can check that out as well. Okay, so this condition is referred to as a planet being cut out of the grid, right? So the grid, what are we referring to here? The grid being the Kathara, the tree of life, the natural Christ code, okay? The planet is no longer attached to the evolutionary imprint contained within its morphogenic field. A phantom planet is no longer capable of evolving out of the harmonic time cycle in which it is placed. It is no longer considered an ascension planet and is called a descending planet. Such a planet will continue to evolve within its harmonic universe time cycles, slowly expending the energies held within its core until its particle pulsation rhythms slow, its temperature cools, and eventually implodes to become a black hole. Now, this can take billions of years for a descending planet to meet its destination. This does not occur quickly, obviously, and life can continue, to evolve on its surface for many years. The phantom version of Earth will be cut out from the interdimensional time matrix. If the core energy centers of, excuse me, if the core energy centers of your bodies are not raised to a sufficient pulsation rhythm to receive the stellar frequencies, which will be transmitting through Earth's grid during Earth's stellar activations, you will be unable to accompany Earth in the stellar activation process. Now, I'm going to ask the question for those who've been studying, when did these activation cycles occur? Because in context to this, when it was given, this information given, this was pre-activation cycle. If the activation cycles, which they did, occurred during 2000 to 2017, and we're now here in 2021, what does that mean? All right? I'm not going to answer that. That's for you to answer. So, in this case, Earth will make the shift into the bridge zone time continuum, but you will not. You will find yourself stationed upon Phantom Earth descending planet. Now, I'm not saying this to scare anybody. I am communicating this so that you know what the truth is, that you see the big picture. Not with all these other gurus are saying out there, because everything from what I hear out there, it seems to be philosophical mumbo jumbo of a mixed bag of things thrown together in a big pot. And it makes things, when I listen to them, I'm going, it just sounds very convoluted. It seems like they have a direction, and they're getting information from these beings, those who are contactees, but they're not really saying anything to them. It's the same old, And for sure, from what I can hear, that's out there in the limelight, in the mainstream of these communities, those individuals, they're not talking anything about the freedom teachings. They're not talking about cheilontic morphogenic science. I don't hear any of that ever. And the question is, why not? Do they not know? Or is there something else involved? And you can fill in the blanks on that one. So in Phantom Earth, you will be cut off from your soul matrix and evolutionary blueprint, and in need of a host soul matrix transplant in order to continue evolution. This condition can be avoided through a conscious participation in the stellar activation process. Where are we at now? What can we do? Number 1, bioregenesis, consisting of doing the Maharic Shield, Kathara healing, and we'll get into some techniques for the radial body clearing. Okay? We're going to get more into bioregenesis, but excuse me. We have to lay this strong foundation for what is taking place within this world, what has been going on. How has this phantom matrix affected this universal construct? It's important to be wise. Opposed to what a lot of what I hear out there, those who are contactees and the information that they're receiving. Number one, none of these beings are telling them about the freedom teachings, which is the birthright for angelic humans. You think that would be the first thing on, on the docket, right? That would be the first things that they would be communicating. Like, well, here's what's going on in the planetary grids. We're looking to remove this, okay? And then this is what's going on within your 15-dimensional anatomy. Excuse me. I'm having problems with my lungs today because of the chemtrails. Yeah, things are changing. So, at any rate, I don't hear them talking about the things that I have come to know as being vital. So why aren't they doing that? Do they not know these things? If they're angelic human, you can guarantee that they know what the freedom teachings are. Why are they not communicating that? What I'm hearing is like, it's just right around the corner, you know? What's just right around the corner? I have no idea. When I listen to some of these people that are contactees, and, you know, it's sort of like a hodgepodge of different philosophical ideas. I'm not looking to throw stones at anybody here, but the truth is important. We all need to be accountable to the truth, right? So we can't falsely have humility. You know what I mean? We need to address things for what they really are and look at it for what it really is and pose the questions that need to be asked. And I don't hear anything from these individuals except for things that just sounds convoluted. There's no answers, and it's the answers that are being given. It's the same old rhetoric. You need to raise your consciousness, and a lot of these things it's our fault and all this stuff that means nothing. Why? Because the condition is the reason for the problem. So if we remove the condition, then we can move on with being healed as a people, as a collective or body of people on this planet. At this stage, it's about individual, and it's about small groups like this to encourage one another, because this is very important for us to participate with one another, make ourselves accountable to one another, make ourselves available to one another, and be of service to one another, to co-create with one another. If everybody in this group worked together like that, if everybody in the group did that, wow, man, what an impact we would make in respect to this world and getting this information out there. I know a lot of you are new to this. I totally understand. I get it. But do what you know to do. Simple things like sharing videos, chiming in, being encouraging within the comment section. Let's move this stuff forward. It's not going to be moved forward if there's no action behind it. There has to be that energy, that conscious intention. So I encourage you, do. You are important. Without you, nothing can get done. All right, so we're going to look at the Phantom Matrix, right? So the Phantom Matrix is what? It is an unnatural black hole system that continually accretes energy and consciousness from the living host time matrix to which it is attached. I'm pausing here just to get your attention for this purpose. Pay attention to the date from which the information comes forward, from whom, and the significance of what this really means. In 22,326 BC, the founders recognized that the Phantom Matrix, which was created during the Lyran Elohim Founders Wars, which goes back 250 billion years ago. Of course, that's, Earth time translation. It had almost reached critical mass accretion. What does that mean? Well, the black hole system had pulled into itself nearly as much energy mass and consciousness than what is organically held within our natural time matrix. Let that sink in for a second. If the phantom matrix reaches critical mass accretion, its draw upon the living time matrix will progressively accelerate, and our living time matrix will be permanently pulled off the grids of the density 5 primal light fields and into the chaotically organized finite phantom matrix. Now, this is not about doom and gloom. It's about seeing things for what they are. And then on an individual level, being able to do something about it. Right? So there's this mission, right? Now, this mission was about realignment of the planets, and it's a bit complicated. So I would recommend that you go to the Real Human History or the Human History within the file section and read from the latter portion of that. Let me see here if I can find it exactly what it is. Okay, yeah. Where it says Earth vibration would rise in, and then it goes from October 1986 to 2017. Go through that, read that. It's not a very involved read, meaning it's not very long, but it will help clarify as far as what the mission is. Okay? So it's a planetary realignment mission. All right? So I don't really know the extent of that. Was it successful? I don't know. I really don't know. I really like to know, but I don't see any evidence of it being successful. I mean, has anything really changed? Or are we stuck on Phantom Earth? I don't know. But these are questions that need to be asked. Seriously, I'm making light of this because we need to make light. Even if it's serious stuff, we need to be light within our hearts, right? So let's take a look at now if this realignment mission, if this Christos realignment mission is not successful, now again we're looking at prior information to that of the current timeline in which we're in. All right. So if the Christos realignment mission is not successful during the current stellar activation cycle, which we know has passed, this entire time matrix, not only the Earth, will be pulled into the phantom matrix black hole system via the halls of Amenti stargates. Many innocent intergalactic civilizations would be trapped in phantom time, denied the right of organic ascension mastery and eternal life. Since the issue of severing the ties between the living phantom matrices came to a head in 22,326 BC, when time was up and the host time matrix was due to collapse, the fallen angelics have planned to achieve forced dominion at this time matrix with intention of drawing it into the phantom matrix as an energetic supply, or you could say food supply. They continue to make this unfortunate choice, and we can see evidence of that, rather than accepting the founders continually, inviting them lovingly, to embrace the Emerald Covenant of co-evolution freedom treaties. They've been combative consistently, And they remain that way. And there's reasons why they remain that way. Again, to ask the question, where are we at now? I mean, did this procedure, was it, first of all, was it acted on? Because there's politics involved with this, because it doesn't just affect Earth, it affects the surrounding area, other systems, planets, individuals. Normally things are left alone so people can just, evolve at their own pace. But in this case, this is a, very serious thing. So there's a lot required. So it has to have full intervention. What does that mean? It means all that is involved, all that would be affected by this has to agree upon it. So that's what it means by full intervention, because it requires, the procedure is a very complex procedure. It's a time-shifting procedure. So you're shifting planets within the time frame out of where the Earth would be pulled into the phantom matrix. So you're moving from where it's at, which is 2.5, to 3.5. We're talking about dimensionally. So we're shifting the time frame. Again, it's a very complex procedure. I don't begin to understand what that is. I have an inkling, I can visualize it, but point being is, did this take place? Did this happen? Was there permission? Was there full intervention? Because here's the thing, again, I'm going to emphasize this over and over again. I can't help but do this. These contactees, what kind of information are they receiving? If this was essential, and this type of procedure is very rarely done, it requires this overall agreement, right? And not to mention what we have going on here on Earth in respect to the populace. The majority of the populace is sleeping. So they can't agree to anything because they don't know anything. And you have a handful of people that is, well, it's even smaller than that. You have a fragment of a fragment, percentage-wise, of people here that are aware of this and what needs to be done. And are they to speak for the whole planet? Or is that enough? Is that allowed? Is that acceptable? If the rest of the planet's asleep, for those who, for the rest of the consciousness, the majority is sleeping, are they able to speak for them? It's a very complicated ordeal. And if I look around, I don't see anything changed. Do you? Do you feel any change? I hear people talking about it, but they've been talking about a lot of things. But for me, I say no. I don't see anything. I go outside. I see a cat. The cat runs away from me. I'm feeding the cat. The cat is afraid. Why is it afraid? Because of the condition is still the same here. Do you follow with what I'm saying? So you have this communication through contactees, and what are they being communicated? Well, it's just right around the corner. What does that mean? I have no idea what that means. Can you give us a bit more information? No, apparently they can't. Do they know anything about this? Apparently they don't. You think they would be able to communicate it, at least in a vague way, but there is no indication whatsoever that they know that this was a plan. And whether or not it was implemented. Come on. There may be a lot of people sleeping here, but if there's ongoing contact with certain individuals, you would think that they would be mature enough to be able to handle that information because they are truly seeking the truth. I'm not going to name names here, but I know some of the individuals that are out there that are on the forefront of things, that their intention within their heart is pure, that they're seeking for the oneness of life. They might be, a little bit mixed up here and there, of course, welcome to Earth, but their intentions are pure, and so they're trustworthy. And with these contacts that they're having, you would think they would provide them with that information, but apparently not. Again, the question remains, where are we at? Based on the way I see and feel things, I don't see any change. How about you? What's your viewpoint on this? If you look at what is communicated within the context of the history for the human race, what does it say at the end? Well, let's read it. It says from 2000 to 2017, Earth is in a state of potential crisis while the majority remains asleep, stuck in their way, and refuse to wake up within the time cycle mechanics. Has anything changed? I'll leave that to you to comment about. All right, let's continue. Now, again, this is not about doom and gloom. It's about questions, vital questions that require answers, real answers, not rhetoric, right? So, we're going to take a look at a chart here to give you a better perspective in relationship to the natural time matrix and the phantom matrix, and how the phantom matrix, how much actually it encompasses the time matrix. So let's take a look at that. Okay, the reason for showing you this is to get a better perspective of what this is. But let's back this up and take a look at what we're looking at first so we can identify things properly. If you look over here to the right, you see numbers 1 through 5, which represent 5 harmonic universes that makes up the time matrix. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. On the outer perimeter here, we have that which is the energy matrix. This is non-dimensional. It's 3 layers made up of the triadic, polaric, and ecotic levels. All right. There is a barrier or void separating that from the time matrix, as well as there is voids between each harmonic universe. If you look over here, this is a 2-dimensional image of the Cathara grid, which is the tree of life. This is the natural order geometric shape, opposed to that which is over here to the right, which is the unnatural shape. This is known as Metatronic coding, and this is Christic coding. Okay, the Christ code. All right. So we have here harmonic universe 1 through 4. These are the matter fields. All right. You can see the split between that which is the natural order and the phantom matrix. All right. Artificial phantom creation. The beings that reside in this matrix functions from this coding. All right? This coding doesn't allow you to ascend. This coding allows for finite energy and existence, where this allows for ascension and eternal life. They have been absorbing the natural order of the time matrix. As you can see, 2/3 of it is consumed. It goes up to the 11th dimension, or the 4th harmonic universe. Now, this has 12. It's a 12 grid system, tree of life. Artificial tree of life here has 11. If you look at the numbering system and the coding within it, it's completely the antithesis of one another. So they're functioning within this phantom matrix. Continue to accrete or absorb the energy of the time matrix of the natural order. Now, 22,326 BC, as I read earlier, the founders here, this is the Rishi identity. This is from which, these are the light fields, or the primal light fields, from which we have these identities here within harmonic universes 1 through 4, or dimensions 1 through 12, right? They realized this 22,326 BC. It's like, which surprises me. It's like, how come it took them so long to figure this out? I mean, this absorption rate has been quite exponential. The reason why there is 11 here and 12 here, because this is the natural order, Chris code. 11 is because this is what they're functioning off of. I think I said that already. I'm not sure. But anyhow, their goal is twofold, really. It's about absorbing energy in order to maintain immortality, and also to be able to access the natural order DNA codes so that they can go back up here and blow up the 12 Stargate again, because it was repaired. But it's not repaired, of course, it hadn't been repaired here. As you can see, it's 11 dimensions down. Actually, it's 11 and a half, but this showing is about 11. But at any rate, so they're functioning off of this. This allows for eternal life. This does not. This allows you to ascend. This does not, right? So they're looking to, so far, they've been more than half successful, absorbing energy, and then looking to access DNA coding so that they can go back up through the natural order and then blow stuff up again. In this case, the reason why they would be blowing up the 12 Stargate is that it doesn't allow for ascension if the 12th grid point is missing, like it is here. You can incarnate from the founders' lines, or these founder races, you can incarnate into the time matrix matter fields, but you can't ascend if that is missing. Again, if you alter or modify the structure, the Chris code in any way, it doesn't work. And that's what they did. So that's the case here for the fallen. Now, they could change the way, about doing things, but it's so divided, and there's so much split-offs and hybrid programs that have taken place. If it hasn't happened by now, it's not going to happen, because we look back at the war, it ended 250 billion years ago. Okay? That was the Lyran War. The one, that caused the 12 Stargate to be blown up. So that ended 250 billion years ago. Although, if you look at when the founders began to incarnate into these other harmonic universes, that was 950 billion years ago. So it's quite a long time. Now, the Great War was what I'm referring to as the first war. There's been other wars that had been ongoing. It wasn't until one of those wars, which was a substantial war, ended. That being 560 million years ago, and that's when the angelic human Grail lines were created, and they were created to protect the halls of Amente stargates. So if you're here in this group, you're most likely a guardian, which means you're most likely an indigo. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You know, that's up for you. That's up to you to find out for sure who you are. But from my perspective, the likelihood of you being here and especially listening to this video is that you are a guardian. You are indigo. So, at any rate, what else was I going to communicate about this? All right, here's something important to speak of, and then I'm going to kind of top this off, then go into the next segment of the video, and that is this. I've been hearing a lot lately about unity consciousness, and that unity consciousness is found right here in the fifth dimension, which is the second harmonic universe. It's important to understand that what makes up a harmonic universe reality field is 3 dimensions. I mean, we're in this first harmonic universe, and we don't really even experience that which is 3 dimensions. We experience 2.5. And if you've been listening to previous videos, especially dealing with this holographic multiverse, you know the reasons why. Okay? So we have a condition here. And the condition is the problem, not that being in a lower dimension, so to speak. You can be in a higher dimensional framework and still be opposing to at-one-ment. And be it that this first war began here with an avatar identity. Give me a break, right? What is an avatar? An avatar can, within identity, can go anywhere within the time matrix. Just pop in wherever they want to pop in at. Okay? It's the highest identity form within the time matrix. Okay? So, the problem is not because we're so-called lower dimensional. The problem is conditional. What the planet is suffering here, and the alterations within creation mechanics by these fallen folk, right? I mean, the extent of what has been done here is insidious. So it's conditioned, right? We don't need to try to raise our consciousness as a collective, or should I say as a body of people on a planet. First and foremost, the situation has to be one of freedom. And there is no freedom here. There's no true free will. That's nonsense. And this most definitely is not a gift. This is an enduring marathon is what this is. There's a lot of issues that need to be taken into account. So, yeah, unity consciousness can be experienced here if you remove the conditions and create freedom. And that would allow for it. So it's not dimensional that makes you, an enlightened being, because again, we have dark avatars here. And these are 11-dimensional beings. All right? So that's just nonsense talk when people say things like that. They're speaking out of ignorance. I'll just call it for what it is, because that's what it is. And I'm not going to say who I heard that from and who I continue to hear that from. But they're well known, and they have a pretty large following. So, at any rate, I can go into that a lot more, but I'm not. I'm just going to jump into the end part here so I can go into the next segment. But as you can see, there is a great deal of absorption taking place. And I'm going to go ahead, at the end of this, before I go into the next segment, I'm going to go ahead and read again what the founders observed and the conclusion was in relationship to this accretion or absorption of the natural order. Okay? But I would like to mention this prior, which I find this extremely challenging. The Metatronic family, which is these angelic hosts, okay? We'll just call it for what it is. They're these angelic hosts, which would be considered like archangel type of thing, okay? And for people to say that they don't have wings and that's just an energy thing and their energy's flaring back or whatever, that might be just a perception thing. But when you're in the presence of some of these beings, they actually have wings. I mean, really have wings. Not pretending looking wings, but actually wings. You know, we have a construct full of all kinds of forms. You know, not all of it is humanoid. Actually, when you look at the founders, you don't really see that much humanoid. The humanoid stuff came later. Okay? Any rate. So we have this Metatronic collective, this family. And again, this is challenging. So, you know, hold on to your seat because I've already mentioned this before, but it bears repeating multiple times. This family is sourcing out of across the void into the primal sound fields, into level 1, which is the acotic level, from a entity within that level of the acotic. This is the first established identity individuation within this construct. And it's within a gestalt. This is known as being the ascended masters, folks. This is what a real ascended master is located. They're not in here. They're in here. But they're sourcing out from that. How are they doing that? How are they doing that? How is that even possible? They developed technologies, AI, hopefully you will never ever experience, because it's so convincing you wouldn't know the difference. That's the reason why so many people here are easily fooled. They're using, obviously, creation mechanics and the manipulation of creation mechanics in order to be able to access this source energy from that, which I have no idea how they're doing it. Not a clue. They shouldn't be able to do that, yet they are. At least that's what the Freedom Teachings communicates. Yeah. Okay, as we can see, or could see, according to that chart, that 2/3 of the natural order has been absorbed, or that energy is being accreted by the phantom matrix. And surprisingly, it took the founders so long before they began to observe this. I mean, 22,326 BC is when they first started to look at this, which goes to show you, just because you're a higher dimensional being doesn't mean you know everything. All right? Usually that information has to come to you from other sources within the time matrix. Yeah, it's not quite the way most people think things are. So let's go ahead and revisit, actually, what is said within the transcripts. So in 22,326 BC, the founders recognized that the phantom matrix, which was created during the time of the Lyran Elohim founders wars, okay, emphasize the word founders there, 250 billion years ago, according to Earth time translation, had almost reached critical mass accretion or absorption of the natural order. The black hole system had pulled into itself nearly as much energy, mass, and consciousness than what is organically held within our natural time matrix. And again, looking at the chart there, you can see that is 2/3, right? So if the phantom matrix reaches critical mass accretion or absorption of the natural order, its draw upon the living time matrix will progressively accelerate, and our living time matrix will be permanently pulled off the grids of the density 5 primal light fields into the chaotically organized finite phantom matrix. What does that mean, pulled off the grids? It's talking about the Kathara, talking about the Christ code, pulling it off and pulling it on to the artificial tree of life. Now, again, this is not about doom and gloom. It's about knowing the truth. The mission, this Christos realignment mission, right, that we referred to earlier. So what was that? Again, to repeat what that was, it was about time shifting of the planets. It was a procedure that seems to be the only option. Okay? This is supposed to have taken place from 2017, more specifically within the time frame of 2012 to 2017. Again, very complex procedure, and the requirement is full direct intervention. I mean, this is rarely ever implemented from what it states here. So, normally people and planets are left alone so they can evolve according to the choices they make. That's true free will. But when things are compromised and you don't have free will, like we don't have here, other measures have to be taken. But in order for them to do this, they must get the cooperation on a, more involved level, meaning it becomes a political thing. Because we have numerous planets, star systems that need to get involved with this because they're going to be affected by this. So did it take place is my question I've been asking over and over again since I revealed this within this video. I don't know. I don't see any signs of that has taken place. So are we in need of a host matrix, meaning a host soul matrix? Because for us to move from this harmonic universe into the second harmonic universe, what is required is soul consciousness, because our soul identity is within the second harmonic universe. Okay? This is first harmonic universe is incarnate identity, then you have soul identity, oversoul, then avatar. Then within the primal light fields, you have the Rishi identity. So do we need a soul matrix host? In other words, is this on the course of phantom Earth? Or is it becoming? I mean, if they didn't do the procedure, then it is. I mean, from 2000 to 2017, what does it say within the historical records? That linear line of succession of events, what does it say? It says from 2000 to 2017, Earth is in a state of potential crisis. Now we know this date has passed. We have passed the stellar activation cycle. So what does it say? It says the majority remains asleep. They're stuck in their way and refuse to wake up within the time cycle mechanics. If we're looking for cooperation or had need to participate as the majority of those here on this planet as a people, to ask for assistance. I mean, again, this is a political thing. There's other planets, other star systems that would be, involved, and their intervention is required. If they don't desire to act on that, that's their free will choice. So did they? I don't know. I don't see any evidence that it's happened. Then again, I could be wrong. But I see a lot of evidence that outweighs that it did happen. And I'm just really wanting to hear within this time frame right here and now, 2021, halfway into the year, where are we at? Now, I know what to do. You have to continue to do the same things that you were doing before. If you've been doing bioregenesis, you need to continue to do that. You need to continue to do all the things that you were doing before. But it still begs the question, at least from my perspective, where are we at? Because I am not getting those answers. Discernment leads me to observe and see things for what it is based on the knowledge that I have accumulated, and I am able to observe and feel into it. So it becomes somewhat of an educated guess in respect to that, but it is not concrete. And I would like to know. I don't want any speculation. I can speculate myself, and I hear a lot of people out there speculating. They've been talking about things forever. It's all the same stuff, as far as I can hear. But I'm asking a very solid question. Where are we at? Okay, so the next segment here is a testimonial of a near-death experience. And like most of the NDEs that I hear, they seem to focus around a particular aspect of programming. Now, there is some that I've heard that are genuine, but the majority that I've heard aren't, in my opinion. And this one particular experience that this individual testifies about, and I use the word testify because that's an appropriate word to use, is very revealing. So we're going to get into that, and then I'll come back and I'll give my 2 cents on it and close the video out. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and check this out.
The first thing, I just remember feeling like this divine presence. It was like the most strongest male dominant, like her type of presence ever. But at the same time, it felt like the most loving woman that you've ever met, even more than that. So it was like both. So the first thing was, let me reintroduce myself to you. I am God because I know him as God. Yes, I am real. Yes, angels are real. They're a gift from me. Want to meet them? I said, no. I didn't believe in angels. I didn't believe any of that existed. I did believe in God at that time, but angels, I'm like, man, this stuff is for TV and stuff like that. So I see this projection screen. Usually when people have NDEs or something, they have a life review. The reason I didn't have a life review is because there was like this void. I see this projection screen, so then you see people passing by. Here's this like prostitute girl passing by. He says, I love her. Then here's like this guy with a suit and a briefcase. He passes by, he says, I love him. So what I took that is like, I love them all the same. Like whether you're a businessman, whether you're a drug addict, whether you're a prostitute, I love all of them the same. I'm like, whoa, what am I supposed to do if I go back to Earth? And I feel, I didn't see his face or anything, but I just feel him get down to his knee and give me a hug. And I felt like, literally felt the arms around me and fingers and all that. And then he lets go and says, go and tell everyone that I love them. And I'm like, wait, that's it? Like, and he says, I will go to the end of the world so everyone is with me. I had no idea. I've never heard anything like that. The way I felt at first, I'm like, wait, why are you talking to me? Like, I don't read the King James Bible. I'm not a part of these people. So then, boom, now I'm midair. Here's this guy in this donut hole I was talking about. The reason why I didn't have a life review, if I did cross that donut hole, I would have seen my life review. I would have went to like actual heaven or whatever you want to call it, and I seen all these angels like surrounded in a circle. So then I look, and there was two angels in particular that for some reason I just knew they were familiar. One on my right, one on my left. Now these angels, all these angels that I seen, I literally seen them. Like I didn't see God, but I literally were looking at these angels. So the one on my right side, about 9 feet, 8 feet, something 9 feet, it was more like of a beetle type of thing. It was more like of a beetle type of thing, and it had so much light I couldn't really see. I had to like do that because it was beaming with so much light. And then he had like this sternness and was like, "Are you sure you want to go?" And then I look at my right side. This angel was more human than anything with wings, about 9 feet tall. Um, Wings were about like 5 feet, and they stood up. He had a red flannel shirt with the sleeves rolled up to the elbows, blue jeans and sandals, and then he had like brown curly hair. So this one was really soft spoken. I thought he was gonna be like, "You're gonna burn," and he's like, all he says is, "Are you? You have so much to do for so many people." And they're both like holding my arms, and they're like, "It's okay," because I was scared. I'm like, "Get me out of here! Get me out of here!" And they're like, it's okay. Like you're gonna be okay. Like we love you. Like we're not gonna hurt you. Like I thought they were.
Now, wasn't that interesting? You caught the beetle, right? Yeah. So let me read a few things, all right, if you don't mind. The Alpha Omega Alliance. Now, some of you already know this, but it bears repeating. The largest false DNA activation ascension program is conducted by the Alpha Omega Templar Melchizedek Anunnaki Draconian Alliance. This alliance is composed of Centaur and Draconian Anunnaki races of density 2 and 3, Alpha Centauri, and Omega Centauri, the Necrochromaton, which is the beetle reptile. Now, from what this individual describes, that's what this is. It's from the Alpha Omega Alliance. So it positive identification, in other words, right? So again, I'll just continue to read. Anunnaki hybrid race of Adronima, known as the Adronomies or Men in Black. Now we know the Men in Black to work with shadow government, with the Black Ops military, and there's several other related fallen angelic collectives following the Omicron, Draconian, Zeta, Illuminati, One World Order, Dominion agenda. Yeah. Let me flip over to this. I'm not going to read any more. Or briefly, I'm going to go over something here just to let you know. I'm going to post this stuff so you can. Some of it is already in the files. I don't think this particular document that I have here is in the files. It may be. It's hard to keep track of things. But anyhow, the Omicron Draconian, which is the fallen seraphim line of Lyra-Vega, and it lists the primary races that's involved with that, the core agenda, the primary Leviathan Illuminati races. It lists that, as well as the human tribe infiltration, which is quite interesting and pretty obvious once you once you see who's listed. So yeah, we have. I'm not going to say. I'm going to go ahead and leave it up to you to read it. Some of these human tribe infiltrations will not be a surprise. Okay, let's just say that. But there may be some that may be a surprise to you. So, any rate, associations, as far as what they're involved with, and there's a long list of that. And it just, it goes through, primarily what I just mentioned in various areas in respect to these subgroups, as it would be, these different subgroups and collectives and those lineage lines. It's pretty crazy, man, when you start seeing it for what it is, you know. Uh, Interestingly enough, you see on the political landscape, you see things blamed on humans, or at least those that look like human. And in truth, that's not really what's going on. It's infiltration. And the invasion happened a long time ago, and nobody is the wisest to it because, what do you expect from a bunch of individuals that are amnesiacs? Time they figure things out, they're gone and they come back with no memory again. And they go through the big spiel, very similar to what this young man experienced. So, anyhow, yeah, we love you. I'm sure you do. So, any rate, folks, there it is. And yeah, this was a pretty long video. I know. And I'm having a hard time talking. I almost conked out 2 or 3 times in the middle of it. I had to repeat and do it over again because there was trash trucks and all kinds of noise happening. It's interesting when I look to do something, especially something like this, I get all kinds of interruptions. It is very, very interesting. Not coincidental, just interesting, if you know what I mean. So, at any rate, folks, be proactive. I encourage you. We need to be available to one another, and I thank you for the things that you have been doing, but I'm going to ask you if you can step it up a notch. Let's be co-creative. Let's see if we can make an impact, okay? I know this subject matter, pretty heavy stuff, right? Yeah, I know. Now, there's some answers that need to come from this because these questions, some of these questions that I'm posing within this video or, asking require an answer because some of this stuff I don't know. And if I'm looking at it for what it is, you already have my viewpoint on that. I hope I'm wrong. I really, really want to be wrong about this. So, at any rate, that being said, let's be co-creative with one another. Let's work to a common cause. We're here for a reason. You are in this group because you were led here, right? Some of you were invited, but I would say a good handful of you are here because you know the reasons why. So let's get busy, okay? I encourage you. And remember, you are the love that you have always been. Let's work through that and make a difference, okay? All right. Blessings, peace. Talk to you later.